Hey there, welcome to Toy Talk with Mike and Chad, episode 24. I'm Mike.
I'm Chad.
And so this is our first show of the new year, 2023.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you. And it's actually been quite a while since we did one of these.
It was at least a month.
Yeah, like it might not seem that way to regular viewers because we recorded a lot. Yeah. Like in December, I was doing all those best of the year videos, and I was trying to cover all my toys that I got before the end of the year. And then we had shot a particularly long episode, which I chopped into 3 episodes, and I spaced those out. And so, people might think it's only been like 2 weeks, but it's been over a month since we sat down to do one of these.
Yeah.
How you been?
Good. Excuse me. Busy with school and work, so I haven't had a lot of time to collect, but I've been following a bunch of stuff that's been going on.
Yeah. Now, I have more toys to talk about than I would like to, almost, because at the end of last year, when I was compiling my best of the year list and I realized how many figures I had bought, I was like, all right, this is getting out of control. I definitely have to slow it down this year. But I'm not on a very good pace for slowing it down because, I'm getting a lot of pre-orders are coming in. I had a birthday, so I got some birthday presents, so that's all good. But I just mean, like, I've got quite a few new toys already in the first month of the year. So, I figure we'll talk about some of my new stuff. But before we get into that, have you gotten anything new this year yet?
No.
And that's cool. Like, we both have to rein it in.
So I haven't been able to collect because I was on the hook for $4,200 for tuition, so that had to come out of pocket.
Yeah.
So that kind of put the kibosh on that. Now, what I will say, though, is I did get a Red Skull Marvel Legends What If figure that was pre-ordered a long time ago. So, Mom, if you're watching, that's already come and gone long ago.
All right. So is it like Amazon? Is that where you got it?
Yeah.
So is it on its way to you?
It's on its way to me right now.
Okay. So it'll be your first toy of the year.
Yes.
Cool. I don't think I have anything in transit at the moment, but I do have a couple orders that I'm waiting to ship anytime now. I think I have 12 items currently in my pile of loot with Big Bad Toy Store. I ordered a wave of figures, which I originally had in my Big Bad pre-orders, but I canceled them because I ordered directly from Valaverse, the Action Force website, which I'll talk about that a little bit later. And I also just put in an order today with Super 7. So
what'd you get?
Well, do you want to jump right into that? So with Super 7, like they have announced recently, I'm a completist when it comes to their Transformers and their G.I. Joe reaction figure lines. So they put out a new wave of both very recently. The Transformer wave is starting to hit now. Like my local comic shop actually had it today, and I was kind of tempted to just buy it off the shelf. But the thing is, it's already been charged to my credit card. It's sitting in my pile of loot with Big Bad Toy Store. So I didn't want to cancel it.
More of a hassle to get a refund.
Yeah, and I just feel bad doing that.
Yeah.
It's one thing to cancel a pre-order that they haven't processed yet, but once I don't want them refunded and going through that whole trouble. So when I tell them to eventually ship my pile of loot, I'm not going to have it for another 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's why it's painful to see it sitting there, and I could just buy it right now. But anyway, so that's the Transformers.
What's your favorite of the Transformer line that came out?
The new wave, I don't know, like the Unicron is kind of cool.
Yeah. That's based off the toy that wasn't released, right?
Yeah, like when that animated movie first came out in the 80s, Hasbro was considering putting out a Unicron toy. It didn't really look much like the Unicron in the movie, and he was kind of just a big fat ball. He's kind of silly looking.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's why they never put it out. Maybe they just thought this looks too silly, or maybe they thought it's going to be too expensive. But they never put it out. But people are familiar with it. You know, prototypes have been seen and images online. So Super 7, rather than do an animation-specific Unicron like they do with all the other figures, they decided to make a reaction figure based on the unproduced toy. So that's cool. However, as neat as that is, it is still a fat, goofy-looking robot. So I wouldn't say that's my favorite of the wave. Like, I think, like, Ultra Magnus has potential.
Yeah.
But at a glance, because I haven't really seen them in hand yet, I think Ultra Magnus is a little too small. I think they should have bulked him up. I can't even remember off the top of my head who else is all in
Did
there.
I see Cyclonus? Did I imagine that?
Yeah, Cyclonus
Okay,
is in
yeah.
there. So anyway, so those figures are coming out. And then I also had on pre-order from Big Bad Toy Store is the new wave of G.I. Joes, which I think is wave 5 or 6.
Yes.
So that's got like Tomax and Zaymont and a couple other new characters. So they haven't hit my pile of loot yet, so I wasn't charged, but I knew it was going to happen any day now. But then I got an email from Super 7 today, and they said they had a one-day sale on their website where any order over $100 was 20% off. So I was like, well, those 5 or 6 figures is about $140, so I might as well buy it from them and now get a figure for free, essentially. So I just canceled my pre-orders with Big Bad, placed the order with Super 7, so that's done and over with. So I just did that this afternoon, so that'll probably be here in like a week or so.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into my other stuff, toy news. There's been lots of new reveals coming out. What do you want to talk about?
Maybe let's start with McFarlane, because that list is pretty short today. I haven't really been that keen on some of the figures that he's put out lately. Like, it's even some of the ones that were announced, they're kind of silly.
Yeah, your
like,
DC multiverse.
Yeah.
Right.
So, they did put out an image of the Riddler, which I'm okay with that one. Mr. Freeze, I'm really looking forward, and that's what I said last year. He was one of my, I want this figures.
Yep.
And he's a little too white for me. Like, his uniform is super white.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of custom Mr. Freeze paint jobs on this figure in, a couple of the groups I belong to. Does look kind of cool when they're painted, but I couldn't butcher a toy, so I'll stick with the white version. Happy to get it. What else did they announce? They announced this really weirdo looking Superman, Eradicator. He's the guy with the sunglasses, and
he's one of the 4 fake Superman during the death of Superman crisis. And I don't know much about him.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
And recently, as of a couple days ago, they announced the Arkham... not the Arkham, the Dark Knight trilogy figures. I'm kind of like you. I don't like the movie screen versions. I like the comic book, or in this case, there is no comic book for it. But I have to say, some of the figures I've seen are pretty cool. Two-Face, for example, doesn't necessarily look like Aaron Eckhart when
right
his face is cut in half. You can still kind of see, but it looks more cartoony. So I don't know what they're doing with that.
Okay.
The Batman I might pass on just because I have so many Batman, and the costume isn't really that different enough to warrant buying another one.
The Robin.
The Robin, I was very excited about the Dick Grayson Robin in his traditional costume.
Very classic, first appearance type
looking.
Robin. Yeah. Little teeny.
Yeah.
Little, I don't know, is that supposed to be chainmail shorts? I don't know what he wears.
I don't know.
Little teeny green shorts, the little winged green shoes.
Yeah.
It's it's a silly outfit, but yeah, that's the Robin I grew up on.
And that's another figure that I also wanted because, I haven't had too many traditional Robins in my collection.
When I was a kid, because I was born in 78, and it was probably right around the end of the 70s when Mego was kind of phasing out, but it was probably one of the biggest toy lines of the 70s, and they made dolls with removable cloth clothing of all the superheroes and stuff, and I had a few of them when I was a kid, obviously, but I destroyed them. I think they had elastics that held them together, and they probably couldn't withstand the play of a toddler. So when I was a little bit older, old enough to care about my toys, and I collected He-Man and G.I. Joes, I always had a miscellaneous figure drawer where I had all my weird stuff. I only had one Voltron or one Supernatural and all these toys were all in this bin. And I had all these like superhero clothes that were from the dolls I once had and destroyed. So I don't know why I still had them. I don't know if I broke a figure in half and my mom said, well, you might as well save the outfit for some reason. But that was one of the things. I had a Robin outfit, that classic like Burt Ward type of Robin, and I had those little green plastic shoes were just sitting there in my drawer, but I never had a figure to put them in. So it's just this thing I had for ages. I had a pair of Hulk pants, but no Hulk. Like, I don't really ever remember owning the Hulk, but I must have at one point. I just had his pants. Anyway.
Interesting. Well, I mean, you could probably repurpose them somewhere.
I don't have them anymore. I think the only Mego I have from my childhood is Mr. Spock.
Okay.
So I still have him. And I later did buy the Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Although I was at like a flea market like maybe 10 years ago or something. And they had a little Ziploc bag with like 5 or 6 figures in them. And one of them was a Mego Spider-Man. And I was like, that's cool. And they were only asking like $15 for the bag. And I was like, well, yeah, that's worth it just for the Mego Spider-Man alone. And the way it works with those things is like, it's basically a plastic Spider-Man head. Like the mask isn't removable. But then he's got a naked like Ken doll body with this onesie of Spider-Man that goes over him. Anyway, so I bought him, got him home, opened the bag. And as soon as I picked him up, I realized that his like leg was broken. Like he was missing a leg. But you couldn't really tell because of the onesie. So it looked like, but yeah, he can't stand up or anything because it's just, you could bend it's just empty cloth. So yeah, that was kind of disappointing. So I have a one-legged Spider-Man and a Mr. Spock.
Okay.
Anyway, I totally derailed. Whatever.
No, that's okay. Action figure-wise, aside from McFarlane, I was eyeing a couple of the G.I. Joe releases today that they announced. Yeah,
so the Hasbro had one of their, I think they call them fan streams or live stream, whatever, and they tend to do themes. So they did a Transformers one the other day. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw any of that.
I didn't.
I know you're not really a Transformers guy, but they did a G.I. Joe one today when we're filming this, and I was sending you the images as they were coming out. I was really excited about all of the reveals. Mm-hmm. Is there any that you were talking about?
Snow Job, absolutely. Strictly based on that, G.I. Joe PSA. You fucking wankers, get off my eyes! Give him the stick. Just I need him just for that. But he looks pretty sleek. The last one you sent me, it was
the Televiper.
The Televiper, yeah.
Yeah. So the reveals today, and most of these figures, because the way Hasbro's doing it with, I think maybe all their toy lines now. I know that Star Wars, G.I. Joe, is they call it the pipeline reveal. So like. 1 month they'll say, here's some new actual figures. And then they'll say, here's some new figures that are upcoming. It's just a digital render. And then they just give you the names of some other figures that are in the works. So then the next one, then we see physical versions of the ones that were renders before. And it just kind of goes through the assembly line. So today they showed us Snow Job in a digital render. But we knew Snow Job was coming because they told us that last time. Scrap Iron, we saw him. Again, we knew he was coming, but this is the first time we saw the digital render, and I think both of them look great. And then the Televiper that comes packaged with the Trouble Bubble, like flying flight pod, we also knew that was coming as a deluxe pack or whatever, but we hadn't seen it. But I don't think they'd made any mention of this one before. I think this was a surprise today, but they showed a 2-pack of Steel Brigade troopers. So
they're the jetpack guys, right?
Yeah, they never had jetpacks before, though.
Okay, weird.
But Stalker used to have a jetpack. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they're going to repurpose those jetpacks for future characters. But the Steel Brigade, in the 80s G.I. Joe line, those were the masked characters that you had to send in you could pick a file name and you wrote your name, and they sent you a custom file card, so that G.I. Joe was supposed to be you.
I vaguely remember that.
And so I won't get into it all that much, but like G.I. Joe has lost the trademark to the name Steel Brigade because Bobby Valla and his Action Force line scooped it up. So now he's making his own version of figures called the Steel Brigade. And they look similar to the classic G.I. Joe Steel Brigade, but he's not allowed to outright copy the imagery because that's still copyrighted, but they don't have the trademarks of the name, or vice versa. I can't remember which is which. So, I don't think anybody expected them to do their own. So now these guys are called the Steel Core, I think is what they called it. But it's a male and a female 2-pack, and they both have jetpacks, and they've got all kinds of like weapons and little blast effects for their guns.
The flames look cool too, coming out of the jetpack.
It's going to be a pretty cool 2-pack. It's probably going to be expensive, like probably more expensive than the Blue Ninja 2-pack we got this year, just because that was my main takeaway from today, though. As cool as all the figures were, I was thinking like, Scrap Iron's got a lot of stuff. Snow Job has a lot of stuff because he's got skis and snowshoes and poles. And I'm thinking like, I wonder if these are going to be basic figures, or are they all going to put them in wider boxes and say, instead of $40, these guys are $55 or $60 because they're deluxe. Like, none of these figures today really looked like they were going to be basic assortment, but I'll be very impressed if they are. Like, if I get that Snow Job with the skis and the snowshoes and everything, and he's the same price as a standard figure, great. But I'm worried that they're going to just try to find an excuse to charge me double for some extra skis.
Yeah, for someone that's not a completionist, for me that price tag is a little bit of a deterrent.
Yeah.
But he's cool. Snowdrop's cool.
He is cool. I have another complaint about the Televiper, though. I assume they're probably going to release a single carded Televiper later. They'll probably do a Python Patrol Televiper. But the classic dark blue Televiper that's coming with the flight pod, it comes with two alternate heads. So you got 3 heads to choose from. One of them, because they have like an exposed, their mouth and nose that is exposed. So there's a white guy, a black guy, and they have another one that's got like a mask, like a breather over the mask. They all look cool. So I would be tempted to buy that figure 3 times to display him with all the different heads. But not with like a $60 flight pod attached to him, because that means I'm going to have to pay. I wouldn't be surprised if that set's like $125 or something. So I'm not going to buy it 3 times to get the 3 different heads on display. But anyway, actually that might be a good segue.
Sure.
We can continue to talk about toy news, but one of the things I want to show you today, you've already seen it on my Instagram.
Yeah.
But for my birthday, my brother Doug, who is a bit of a toy collector himself, not to this extreme, but he is a toy collector. He told, like, he gave me something. We went out for dinner. He gave me a gift, and I was like, great. And he said, there's something else coming. I ordered it on eBay, but it didn't arrive on time, so I'll give that to you in the coming days. And I was like, oh, cool. And he's like, don't get excited about it. It's just small. It's nothing. It's not a big deal. So I kind of thought maybe it was going to be a little joke gift. But anyway, what he got me, and you guys won't be able to see this yet, but I'll do a cutaway and you'll see it up close. But so this is the Zarana G.I. Joe Classified figure, and this was my toy of the year last year. When I finished my best of the year list, this was my number 1, just because it's a great figure, but Zarana is like one of my favorite characters. And she had 2 hairstyles to choose from. One that looked like the vintage packaging, and one that looked more like maybe some of the media, the comic books and stuff. So I actually bought her twice.
Yep.
So I could display her with both hairstyles. Anyway, I wasn't expecting this. I never even really knew this existed. But Doug bought me this custom head. So this entire head is a custom job that somebody sculpted out of resin and painted. And Doug bought it on eBay. And with the shipping and everything else, I think Doug was in for about $50 total for this one little teeny head. So,
I mean, that's impressive, though.
Like, it looks great. The thing is, it doesn't snap. It doesn't snap on place. I've got a little bit of stick tack on it to hold it onto the neck, but I am a little leery to like move it around too much. But like, it looks great. The paint job is beautiful. It's an awesome looking head. I very much appreciate it. So Doug doesn't watch these, but thank you, Doug. But now I need to buy a 3rd Zarana so I can have all 3 heads on display. But I was glad that I had a second one on hand.
Yeah.
So when he gave me this, because I do like the main head that Hasbro gave me. But anyway, I thought this was such a cool gift. It was unexpected. And it's just the fact that it's not just some rando character like an extra Duke head or something. It's like it happens to be my favorite G.I. Joe character, my toy of the year. She was already great, and now she's even better with this little enhancement.
It's a sick head.
Yeah, did you get a good look at her?
Not in person. Oh my god. Yeah, like the fact that someone sculpted this independently, just looking at it, like the detail is amazing. The eyes are impressive.
Yeah, it's really nice. So, yeah, I'll splice it in so you guys get a good look at it. But yeah, I'm really pleased with it.
That's solid.
That is. So here's just a quick closer look at this Zarana head. So first let me just bring out the original one. So this is the figure as you get it from Hasbro, which I still think is, it's a solid figure. It was my figure of the year. So I obviously love this figure as it is. But yeah, this is pretty great as well. So like it's a very like pretty face sculpt. It's very well done. Like sure, if you get up really tight and close, there's some like maybe imperfections around where the hair touches the face and stuff. But you have to get up pretty close to notice that sort of thing. But yeah, the hair is all sculpted individually. It looks really nice. The way it kind of sweeps back like that. Again, kind of spiky on the back. But it works really well. And it's like, it's painted beautifully. Like, look at those eyes, the way they're painted there. Like, I think it's probably more successful than the digital paint that we get from Hasbro nowadays. Now, you might notice her head is sitting up a little high. So what I did is I popped the other head off. And there's kind of like a little barbell joint that pokes up. And I put the head on there. And it was still kind of wobbly loose. So I put some sticky tack on top of the barbell. So now that's why it doesn't quite connect. What might have been a better option is actually remove the barbell from the neck and then just put some sticky tack right on the top of the kind of neck stump there, and then it might have fit a little lower. But then I worry that it might have been too low. Anyway, I think this looks pretty good just as it is. So yeah, that's a really great, kind of unique sculpt. So yeah, awesome present from Doug. Maybe I'll just cover my G.I. Joe stuff.
Sure, let's do it.
Then we'll move on to whatever else. So the other thing Doug got me, which you had said like last year, one of your most wanted items this year was to get this retro carded Destro.
Sure was.
Anyway, so Doug got me the retro carded Destro, so too bad. And the thing is, I wasn't even sure if I was going to get this for myself because I already have the previous release of Destro that came in the box. And this is the main selling feature of this is that it comes on this old retro style blister card. And I was like, well, that's not enough for me to buy it again. But when I did get him, and I did a side-by-side with the other Destro, like, an average person would be like, you're crazy. Those are basically the same. But to a toy nerd like us, I can appreciate the differences are subtle, but they're there. Like, this guy's got different colored gloves, his necklace is different, his knee pads are different, the little brace on his leg there is different, his suitcase is different. He doesn't have any of the gray padding that the other guy does. He's all black. The collar's full red, where that one's only red on the inside and black on the outside. There are quite a few differences, but none that you would, as soon as if I put them in front of you, you might not notice any differences at first. You might just think it's the same figure twice. But as you look it over, you realize, okay, they did change quite a bit. I think both of them have eyebrows on their mask, but the original one wasn't painted. So this one, they gave them dark black eyebrows over top of the eyes there, which is more cartoon accurate. Yeah. It's maybe sillier. It doesn't make any sense.
No, that's what I was... Like, when I saw them, I'm like... I'm trying to decipher whether or not I would have, bought both of them. Because, I mean, for me, eyebrows aren't really that important because it's like a mask.
Well, the whole mask, like, it's a metal face.
It's a metal face.
And he emotes through it, and he scowls, and his lips are like silver. Like, it never really made a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
And as much as people hated the Rise of Cobra movie, where if you remember that, he injects himself with nanomites, and his face actually turns to like living metal, and people were like mad about that. They're like, he's supposed to be wearing a mask. That's stupid. I'm like, yeah, but that's the only way it would work the way you want it to work in the cartoon. Because if he just put on like a metal mask, the mouth doesn't move, the eyes don't move, like he'd look like Iron Man. He wouldn't look like Destro. So, yeah. I appreciate what they tried to do in the movie, although we never really get to see it. It only happened in like the last couple of minutes of the movie, but anyway.
Meanwhile, I'm saying eyebrows don't matter. Like, try shaving your eyebrows off and then walking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this version is like $10 cheaper, I think, than the classified one.
I don't know. Maybe on the secondary market, the other ones got more expensive, but I think they're both like between $30 and $40 Canadian. I think they're both the same
Really?
price.
Because Amazon said they're like 57 for this one, and I think the other one was 68.
All right, well, that's crazy. Like this one, Doug got locally. This was at a Walmart here, and he was under $40. I think Dartmouth Crossing, he said. So maybe check Dartmouth Crossing.
Oh man!
And I would have actually called you right away and told you, but I knew you weren't buying anything anyway. So I was like, there's no urgency to that.
And there's also the jealousy factor because I'm like, oh man.
Yeah. And the last G.I. Joe I'll show you. I was excited about this one because like Duke has never been my favorite.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe. He's probably one of my
like
least
vanilla.
favorite. Yeah, he's bland. But when G.I. Joe Classified first came out in 2020, Duke is the figure that impressed me the most. Like, I just liked that they had updated him. I know some fans really want the toys to look like the vintage toys, and they seem to be going more in that direction. But I really liked that Wave 1, they kind of took a chance and they updated them. They made them look more contemporary. Duke looked younger. He had a cooler haircut with the sides kind of shaved down and everything. Anyway, I loved that figure, and the Duke was my toy of the year in 2020.
2020, yeah.
So I've known this was coming for a while, but they re-released that Duke figure in his Tiger Force colors. Mm-hmm. So this is straight out of the vintage toy line. Like Duke version 2 was a repaint of version 1 in these tiger stripe colors. So he's got kind of brown tiger stripe pants. He's got a green shirt. It's cool. It's still a great figure. And he came with the previously released Ram motorcycle that was released in green with Breaker. Now it's in Tiger Force colors, so it's got that tiger face painted on it. It's got the stripes, bright yellow. So yeah, this was a 2-pack. It was a Target exclusive, so it could have been hard to find here in Canada where we don't have Targets, but I was able to order it directly from Hasbro Pulse's website. So I actually forgot about that. That's another thing I have. I don't think it's shipped yet, but I got an email from Hasbro Pulse saying that we're going to charge your card soon, and that was like a week ago, for the other Target exclusives that are Tiger Force and Python Patrol. So it's the Tiger Force Recondo and Bazooka.
Okay.
And Python Patrol Cobra Officer. So they were out of stock for a long time in Hasbro Pulse, and I thought I was going to have to do this whole rigmarole where I asked my brother, who lives in Miami, to buy them at Target and then bring them back to me when he comes to visit like 6 months from now. And anyway, I'm really glad I didn't have to go through that. I was able to get them directly from Hasbro. So, yeah, very cool. So here's a closer look at the Destro. So you see there's the black eyebrows painted on the mask. He's got the fully red collar, the silver gauntlets, and it might be easier for me to bring out the first Destro just so you can kind of see the comparisons. So this Destro here, he does not have the black eyebrows painted on there. You see he's got a gold chain, whereas this one has silver. And the collar, it's red all the way around, where this guy, you can clearly see it's just the inside that's painted red. The rest of it is black. This guy has these gray pads on the front and on the shoulders and on the legs in various places. The sculpting hasn't changed, so he still has those ridges and stuff on this figure, but now they're all black. The belt, you notice he's got these red things on the belt there. He doesn't have it there. This one, he's got black gloves with just silver cuffs. There, it's all silver. The suitcase here has a red Cobra emblem. On the new one, it's just a solid black suitcase. Same as the gun is solid black, whereas this gun had red highlights on it. Oops, and his head just came off. That's not good. Urgh. That's weird. I was holding him by his head and his head just popped off. Anyway, I'll deal with that later because we were working our way down anyway. So you see here, this is all red on this figure, whereas this one here, the front bit is black. Also the pistol, he's got a little gold pistol. This guy's pistol is black. And the boots, so he has gray boots and gray knee pads here, whereas this guy's got the all black knee pads. Boots are still gray. I think it's maybe a different shade. So yeah, they look pretty similar. Well, now this one doesn't have a head, but you know what I mean. They look pretty similar, But there is lots of little subtle differences in there. And here's a closer look at the two Dukes side by side. Now, technically, there have been 3 Dukes. I have the very original release where he had some gold highlights on his boots and on his knee pads. He had a bright orange watch. Fans really didn't seem to like those really bright colors on the Wave 1 figures. So they re-released Scarlet and Roadblock and Duke, even Snake Eyes, with some minor paint tweaks where they took away some of the brighter colors. They replaced some of the gold with blacks and whatnot. So I have Duke version 1, and then there's something else. I guess you could call version 1B out there. I don't have that one. And then we've got Tiger Force Duke, which I guess is version 2 or 3, depending on how you want to count it. And yeah, I think he looks pretty great. As much as I love this figure, yeah, I definitely don't mind getting it again because I think he looks really great in these colors. And it might get to a point, like if they repaint this Duke multiple times and I'm buying him in like yellow and orange and purple or whatever, it might get a little old. But the Tiger Force Duke has been established since the 80s. And yeah, with the brown pants and the green shirt and everything. So it totally makes sense that they would do it for the classified line. Now, I'm pretty sure I have both the vintage figures of the original Duke and the Tiger Force Duke, but I really didn't feel like digging them out for this review. So here what you're seeing is the 25th anniversary versions. So this is Duke in his like version 1 colors with the tan shirt and the green pants. And then this is the version 2 or Tiger Force version where he's got the brown pants and the green shirt, the red collar. So you can see they've really done a good job of capturing this look in the new figure. It looks pretty great. Now lastly, we've got the Ram. So this is the original one that came out with Breaker, I think just last year, maybe the year before. So it's all green. That matches the original Ram released in the 80s. And then this is the Tiger Force version. So it's got those Tiger Force colors, the Tiger Force logo on there. Looks great. The yellow, the white, the red. Like it really pops. And yeah, love it. All right, I have other toys to show you, but was there anything else news-wise?
The DC Universe, I guess.
Oh yeah, so that's not really toys, but yeah,
it's not. But with the releases, I'm still on the fence about some of the ones that were listed. Like,
yeah. So just for in case you were under a rock or something, so a couple of months ago, James Gunn was appointed to be the what do they call him? Basically the leader of to be the Kevin Feige of the DC and DC Cinematic Universe, and he made a bunch of controversial announcements like Henry Cavill wasn't going to be Superman anymore, all this stuff. But yeah, there was just a bunch of news that came out just yesterday was it?
Yep. No. Yeah, it was yesterday.
Okay, so yeah, why don't you go through and tell us?
Yeah. So let me just pull up the picture here. So basically, James Gunn revealed what the DC Universe is going to look like going forward. So he confirmed...
And starting in 2025, right?
Yeah. So he confirmed 5 movie releases. So the first one is going to be Superman Legacy with whoever the new Superman is. Little interesting tidbit there. He did release a statement saying Henry Cavill was never fired as Superman. We just didn't hire him as Superman. So, whatever that means.
I think that kind of makes sense.
It does.
They're rebooting the franchise. Like Christian Bale didn't get fired as Batman, but they didn't try to bring him back. I don't think his story was done.
Yeah.
And I'm all for that because I really like Superman, and I didn't care for as much as I liked Henry Cavill. I didn't care for the writing and the moodiness of those movies, so I'm ready for a lighter. I think they even said in the pitch there that they're going for true justice and the American way. So yeah, he's going to be hopefully more like a Christopher Reeve Superman. Hopefully not as cheesy as that, but somewhere in between Christopher Reeve and Henry Cavill. Yeah.
The next is The Brave and the Bold, which is a Batman movie, and it will... I read it's going to be like a father-son story, so they're not going origin. Which, if Damien's in it, I'm wondering if they're going to bring in the Lazarus Pit.
Now, for me, I'm excited about that. Because they did say that it was going to be based on Garth Ennis's run, which was, he was the guy that introduced the son of Batman, Damian, the current Robin. And I really liked, I like Damian as a character. I know you're not as keen on him.
Old jerk.
And I liked that storyline.
Yeah. And
I think it's, we're ready for something new for Batman. Like, I don't want, and as much as I like the new Batman by Matt Reeves, it's, it's got that Tim Burton-esqueness to it. Like, we've got the loner Batman. It's dark. It's broody. I think the father-son dynamic and everything, I think, could be really cool.
Speaking of Matt Reeves, his Batman 2 was greenlit for 2025 release as well in August. So that's exciting.
I will say, I don't like that title. Like, I know The Brave and the Bold is a title that DC has used for decades. But I think to the general public, they're going to be like, why is a Batman and Robin movie called The Brave and the Bold? That sounds like a soap opera. Like, it's... I think they should scrap it and just call it Batman and Son, or call it, if you don't want to confuse them with the Matt Reeves movie,
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, or The Robin Chronicles, anything. But just The Brave and the Bold, I don't think is a good movie title.
I agree with you there. The next one is Swamp Thing. I'm kind of excited about this. Now, they have to cast that right. And I don't know who they're going to get to play it at this point, but just the fact that it's on the radar, I'm happy with that. Did you happen to see the Swamp Thing TV show?
I didn't.
Okay.
Like, I vaguely saw some of the Swamp Thing stuff from, like, the 80s and stuff, and I remember liking that, like, more because I liked the character, not necessarily because of the quality of the show. And I remember thinking from the new show that he looked cool. Yeah. But yeah, I don't watch any of that, like, kind of CW-y stuff. Although my thought with the Swamp Thing, like, I trust James Gunn, and hopefully he does a good movie. Because I think with Marvel, even the ones that haven't been great, I've still liked them. Like, things like Eternals and, maybe Ant-Man or Shang-Chi. Some of these things that people don't, love. I liked them. But it makes me think of when Universal tried to reboot their monster universe. Yeah. And they did The Mummy, and nobody liked it, and then their whole shared universe kind of fell apart. That if to lead with something like the Swamp Thing, which some people will associate with corny 80s stuff, it's going to probably be kind of a horror vibe. If they don't stick the landing on that, I hope that doesn't, send their whole shared universe off the rails too quickly. And I don't know why I think that could happen, but I just think Swamp Thing's kind of a weird enough character, and the tone of it could be weird, that it seems a little too early to interject him in there, maybe.
I could agree with that. The next movie, The Authority.
Yeah.
Meh.
I don't know much about them.
And Supergirl is the last one, Woman of Tomorrow. That could be good. The Supergirl show wasn't terrible.
Well, I really like Supergirl as a character.
Yeah.
And I like, again, knowing how bad it is, I like the old movie.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see her getting her due. And again, so early on. If they do a good Superman movie and then she can ride the wave of that, I'm all for that too.
So now we're moving on to the TV shows that they announced.
Yep.
So they announced a Waller TV show. I don't know how I feel about that one yet. I think once I see some promo stuff for it, is it going to be about the Suicide Squad? Is it going to be about...
Well, I think I had read James Gunn said it's basically the same actors from Peacemaker. It's almost going to be maybe a Peacemaker season 2, but maybe just not as much focus on Cena as the main character. But I think Cena might even be in it and everything. So, I don't know.
The next one is Lanterns, which could be cool. It's going to feature both Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. So
yeah, they said they want to try for true detective style.
Yeah, that's why I said it could be kind of cool. I don't know how they're going to pull it off.
Yeah, it could be cool, but I'd much rather they announce a Green Lantern movie. I understand that it's got potential to be a series because the Green Lantern universe is so big, but at the same time, it's just when I watch the Disney Plus Marvel stuff now, they look like movies. Like,
Yeah.
clearly Disney is putting the money in to make these cinematic. I don't know if we've seen that from Warner Brothers yet. Because the reason why I never watched things like Swamp Thing and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and even other sci-fi shows like Star Trek and Buffy, I felt when they took these like big concepts and tried to do them on the small screen, they never worked. It looked a little fake, a little cheesy. They had to limit themselves on what they could do. And Marvel doesn't seem to have to do that anymore. They're like, no, this is basically a movie chopped up into episodes. If Warner Brothers puts the same investment in there, then by all means, a Green Lantern TV show. But I'm worried it's going to come across corny and they're going to be walking around a lot rather than flying around. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see what they do. Creature Commandos. Still not certain.
Yeah, I don't know. I know a little bit. Is that like DC's Frankenstein and their Wolfman and all that stuff? Yeah.
The next one is interesting, and it makes me wonder if this character is going to make an appearance in the Blue Beetle movie coming out in August of this year.
Yeah.
Booster Gold. So there's a little bit of...
Which, by the way, I don't know if you've seen this. I feel like you wanted it, but I was in Sydney, Cape Breton last weekend, and I saw the Booster Gold Blue Beetle 2-pack, DC Multiverse. It was at Walmart. And again, I saw it and I was like, I think Chad wants this. And
yes, Chad does want that.
But I was like, but he's not allowed to buy toys right now.
I'm not.
So, and I wish I was in a place where I could gift it to you. But yeah, I'm pretty broke too.
I hear you.
Yeah.
The last one is Paradise Lost.
What is that?
I don't know.
I think, is that supposed to be the prequel, like on Themyscira or whatever, like Wonder
Yes,
Woman?
that's right. That's what it is.
So it's Wonder Woman's island.
Yeah.
Meh.
Not big. I will also talk about the Flash movie really quickly. I'm not an Ezra Miller fan. Haven't been.
I loved him in Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah, that was a good performance. I don't see them as the Flash, and the only, all the controversy surrounding them in the last couple years just kind of really dampened this movie for me. So I was excited to hear Michael Keaton was going to be in it, and Batfleck as well, and what they were doing. They cut a bunch of scenes out, but James Gunn apparently got a sneak preview of the movie the other day.
Yeah.
And language warning, in case there are any young viewers. James Gunn was quoted as saying, "The Flash is fucking amazing. It's one of the best superhero movies that I've ever fucking seen. Andy Muschietti did an amazing job, and I'm really excited for everyone to see it."
Okay. All right. Back to some toy news.
Back to some toys.
All right. So, let me see. I've got some DC stuff. So, you're the multiverse guy.
Yep.
I don't tend to buy a lot of DC Multiverse. But I did buy 2. And there's this one figure I'd been seeing around for a couple of weeks, like around December. And I was like, every time I went into the GameStop, I'd see this toy, and I'm like, I kind of want to buy that toy. And I'm like, why do I want to buy that toy? We talked about this on the previous episode. It's that Gladiator Superman. And I was feeling like, should I waste my money on this? Is this toy stupid? And then for my birthday? Christmas, you got me a gift card.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, now it's not my money anymore. This is what I'm... Plus, you thought the toy was dumb, so it made it kind of funny that you were buying it for me now.
Yeah.
So, this is... I think they call him Warworld Superman or something. I do like it. It's weird, and it's kind of specific. Like, did I really need a toy of this just because maybe he wore it in a couple issues? But I'm like, I kind of dig it.
I mean, it doesn't look terrible. I like his little 5 o'clock shadow he's got going on there, but
he looks like he's right out of the 300.
Yeah, I might change my mind once. I might change my mind. There we go. When Gladiator Batman comes out,
Yeah.
It might be cool to have the two of them next to each other, but like, would I buy this on my own? Probably not.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know what it is that's appealing about it to me, because I haven't read that storyline. I probably will. I kind of intended to. I did hear good things about it. He fights like Mongol or something. But yeah, I just haven't read it yet. The collection I don't think has come out yet. But yeah, I kind of like it. I don't know.
In hand, I will give it some credit. It does look better out of the box than it does in the box.
Yeah, we talked about this before, but the really soft accessories are kind of lame. Like
it's annoying.
His axe is really rubbery. The shield's cool because he's got this kind of stylized Superman S on his chest. I don't know if why it's stylized like this, or maybe that's just how he wears it nowadays, or if that's specific to this story, because it's barely an S. It's almost just like a slash. But
yeah,
like,
hard to say.
It's a weird S, but it's on his chest, and he also has that same logo on his shield, which is kind of cool. The shield just slides onto his wrist there. But yeah, I do like it. So whatever.
When the pandemic started and all the comic book artists were doing like Instagram lives and they were doing like drawing sessions, did you ever watch any of those?
No, I think you had told me that you were watching them. But
Jim Lee was drawing Superman one day,
yeah.
And he was like, the easiest way to draw the Superman symbol is by drawing two fish. And it like, not that style, but it did look like two fish when he was drawing it. But
maybe we'll check this other figure. Maybe it'll make sense to me. But yeah, one thing I was just going to put this guy away, but another thing I'm just noticing that I like is some of the DC Multiverse guys have kind of a weird torso joint, which allows for them to kind of have an ab crunch, but it puts this weird ridge in them. And I'm just noticing the way his chain sits, like it hides the ridge very well. So that's another thing I do like about this figure. But anyway, so I went to GameStop with this figure in mind. Like, this is what I intended to buy.
Yeah.
And then I got there, and they had another Superman figure that I hadn't seen before. And I was like, ooh, I kind of like that one too. And I'm like, but, I wasn't planning on spending any money. I was just going up to spend my gift card. But then I came home and I thought about it for like 2 days. And I went back and I got him. So... And I might regret this in time, because speaking of Jim Lee, this is the Jim Lee Superman.
Yeah.
Now I'm looking at his symbol. Is those the fish?
Yeah, those are the fish.
Like I see what he's talking about, but they're pretty weird looking fish. It's not. Anyway, like I get it. But anyway, so when Jim Lee drew the Superman storyline. Well, this is based on Hush, so it's based on the Batman storyline. He also did do a 10-issue run on Superman sometime later, which wasn't nearly as good. But anyway, so this is based on this issue when Superman shows up and Poison Ivy has controlled him. So he comes with this little vine accessory, so you can just kind of drape this vine around him, which represents Poison Ivy's control. Yeah. And... yeah, so he looks angry. And that's kind of what appealed to me about the Superman, is I have a bunch of Superman figures, but he always looks pretty chill, like kind of smiley and, all-American. Superman. You don't usually get an angry-looking Superman. And because this is possessed Superman, I liked that look. The thing is, when I have him on my hand, just alone in my hand, it doesn't bother me as much. But when I display him next to any other figures, his skin tone is so bizarre.
Yeah, it's like I'm colorblind, so it's like a gray? Is it gray?
He looks kind of gray, almost yellowy. So like he looks like a zombie. Like if you told me this was zombie Superman, or if you told me this is Bizarro Superman, I'd be like, okay, I guess I could see it. Like it just doesn't look like a natural flesh tone for Superman. So that kind of deterred me. And even though I like that he's angry, I don't know if I like the angry laser eyes. Like he doesn't have pupils and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I kind of do like it. I think it's really just the coloring that's throwing me off. But anyway, on this, when you look at this figure's packaging on the UPC code, it says laser eye variant. It says like Jim Lee Hush Superman laser eye variant, which pretty much guarantees they're going to release this same figure in a more neutral pose, hopefully with a better skin tone. And then I'd be like, well, would I want that one more? But I don't know. There's something about this. The color of this outfit is perfect.
It pops. This one, is actually on my list of characters to get. Do you know if they had many?
I've seen it a couple times.
Okay.
They had at least 2 at the one in Bears Lake where I got that. But like, when we've talked about DC Multiverse in the past, and you're buying a lot of them, I kind of have said multiple times, like, I have a bunch of DC figures from the previous company that used to make them. And they're right there. I'm looking at my collection right now. I have a bunch of Batmans. I have all my Supermans out on the floor. Superman, yeah. And they're various shades of blue. But looking at this blue compared to any of those ones down there, this one is nicer. It's more...
It reminds me of the animated series.
Yeah, Superman. I was going to say like Superpowers, cartoony, bright, colorful, Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
I like this is the best Superman coloring I've seen on the outfit. I just wish the skin tone wasn't so weird.
I like the cape too.
Yeah, he's got
the S on the cape.
Yeah, the yellow S on the cape. Yeah. It's like the right, for me, a good length. It's a good pliability. Like, it doesn't hinder his articulation because it's soft enough. It gets out of the way. It doesn't drape all the way down to his feet. Like, it's a good cape. And my understanding is this body, they've used it a bunch of times. It's the same one that was on the Bizarro and on other things. But yeah, I think it just works really good in these colors with that head. Yeah, just the skin tone is kind of bringing me down.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, if you look at him next to that naked Superman, like, it's just... Like, he's yellowy. You're colorblind, so maybe you can't tell the difference stuff, but it's just... I don't know. It seems off enough.
He looks brown, like he's covered in dirt.
Well, yeah, this guy is a little kind of grungy looking.
Rough around the edges.
Yeah. But it was kind of weird for me to get 2 new Superman figures in the span of a week when I normally don't buy DC figures much at all. So, anyway. So here's a closer look at my 2 new Supermen. So this one here is much more traditional looking, except for those angry eyes. And then he has those vines, but those just come off of him very easily. He also came with a couple of extra kind of open hands. And then he's got his little display base that fits 1 foot. So yeah, great sculpt. I really like the head. I'm unsure, like when they put out the not so angry version, if I will regret getting this one or not. Will I buy the less angry one? I don't know. It's probably less the expression, but maybe a change in skin tone that might encourage me to buy it. Now, side by side, you might be thinking, well, his skin tone's not that different than his, and you know what? I guess it's really not that bad. I don't know why it looks so weird on the other Superman, because it doesn't bother me at all here. But this one here, he's supposed to be a little bit more bronzed, I think. But, yeah, I really like this face, too. Some of the paint's a little weird when you get up close. Like the way his teeth, it almost looks like he has braces on there. But from just a little bit of a distance, I think it's really cool. I like the kind of 5 o'clock shadow. That's not something you usually see on Superman. He's even got almost like a little salt and pepper in his hair. So, yeah, it looks cool. And that's what I was talking about with the hidden joint. You see he's got a seam right there on his torso. So normally that would just look like a weird flab of skin hanging over. But that chain hides that joint really well. There's the weird Superman symbol I was talking about here. It looks like basically just a diagonal line rather than an S. So I'm not sure if that's just the particular artist's style or if the change in symbol actually meant something. Then he's got this big axe, as me and Chad talked about. It's pretty rubbery though, like it bends very easily. And just quickly, here are a few other of my Superman figures. So you can see how, even though they have different shades of blue, they're all much darker than this guy. This looks much more like a Saturday morning cartoon, and I think it's definitely my preference. I think it's the nicest looking of all the Superman suits. This was another birthday present. So my brother Doug, this was the trifecta.
Yes.
So he also got me this Star Wars character. Now, technically, this is one I bought for myself. And then he said, I don't know what to get you for your birthday. And I said, well, you can buy me this figure that I just bought for myself today. So he gave me the money for this figure. But then he went and bought me the Zarana and the Destro. So, but yeah, so this is Echo from the Bad Batch of Star Wars. And you know what? I'm kind of soured on Star Wars Black Series. I'm just not really excited about them anymore. And when I saw this guy in the store, I really hummed and hawed whether I should buy him. And I don't even really care for the Bad Batch show that much. It's not bad, but I just have no interest in watching it. But when the first bunch of these figures came up, because there's basically 5 characters in the Bad Batch, I bought the first 4. So I have the 4 members of the 5-man team. So when this guy came out, I'm like, well, I kind of need him. And he is a really cool figure. Like, you know, he looks similar to the other ones. He's basically a gray clone trooper. But he's got a removable helmet, which is really cool. I like his kind of Lobot style head underneath. He's got a removable kind of claw hand. He's a cool figure. So, yeah, not bad. So here's a closer look at Echo. So you can see here he's got a little pistol. And I think that can probably be holstered on him somewhere. Yeah, he's got a holster here on the side. So if you want to do that. And then his other hand... So he's got a little prosthetic, looks like a screwdriver for a hand, and then he comes with this big claw, which is much cooler looking. So you can just plug that in there, and then he's got this big claw, and he's ready to go to the arcade and get you some stuffed animals. Then his backpack, I think that also was removable. Yeah, and you just plug that into the back there. Now it's funny, I've seen pictures of this figure, and I never drew the comparison to Lobot from Star Wars until, I was actually talking to Chad about this guy, and I was like, oh my god, he looks just like Lobot, which is kind of weird. I used to hate my Lobot figure when I was a kid, but he's kind of grown on me over time, and he's actually now one of my most wanted Black Series figures. So I guess there's probably some people out there that are using this head to make some customs. He's got his little, Skull Squadron logo or whatever that's all about there. It's a nice outfit. I like the skirt piece and everything. Now, probably the coolest thing about this guy, even though I do like his unmasked head, is that he has this helmet. And you see the back of it is cut out, and it's got like a little snap there. So that way his little Lobot headpiece is still exposed when you put his helmet on. Now, it might take me a minute to wrestle with this. But yeah, basically that's how it goes. So... not bad. I think he looks pretty cool. And here he is with the rest of the Bad Batch. So it is nice to finally complete this little squad. Also for my birthday, my wife Vanessa got me this Marvel Legends 2-pack.
Yeah.
So this is Galactus's Heralds 2-pack, which makes sense because Hasbro just put out a new Galactus figure last year through their HasLab, which was like a 30-foot tall, crazy. I would have loved to have gotten it, but it was like
400 or 500.
Yeah, it was like 500 American or something. It would have cost us like $800 in Canada. It's crazy. But it came, not only did you get Galactus, but you got
Silver Surfer.
You got Silver Surfer, Morg, and Nova, which are all his heralds. So anybody that got that would definitely want this as like an add-on piece. So it does kind of it's a little diminishing. I'm excited to get these guys just as they are, but I really would have liked to get Morg and Nova. I don't care as much about Silver Surfer because I have other Silver Surfers, and even Galactus. I have a decent enough Galactus figure in my collection that I didn't need this 3-foot Galactus, but I really wanted Morg, and I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to get them individually. But anyway, do you know these guys at all?
Yes.
Terrax is a pretty classic character. He's been around since I think the 60s. He's fought everybody. Fantastic Four, the Avengers. He's even fought Spider-Man. Guardians of the Galaxy. He's even been kind of a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy at one point or another. So anyway, he's just a cool looking villain. I love that it kind of looks like, is he made of stone? Is his beard made of rock or something? Like he's
he's
cool.
given off like a hybrid of Thanos and Darkseid. Yeah. And I like the little scowl on his face. He's just super pissed off. And
I don't think he's a Jack Kirby creation, but he just has that kind of cosmic Jack Kirby-ness about him. And he's got that big giant axe.
Which is not a soft good.
No. And he's a big figure. Like, he's bigger than your standard. He's more like 7 inches tall than 6, so he kind of towers over the other figures. I imagine if they sold him in Walmart, he wouldn't be like a $30 figure.
No,
he would be like maybe a $50 figure.
However, the other guy that came in the set is this loser.
Weirdo.
Yeah. So this guy is called the Fallen One. He is a more modern character, but when he was introduced, they sold him as like this is the first ever herald that Galactus made. Mm-hmm. But he made him with a different type of power, and it didn't work out. So he said, next time I make a herald, the Silver Surfer, I'm going to use the power cosmic instead of the antimatter power that I gave you or whatever. So this guy was banished away, and then he reappeared in like a Thanos comic book a while ago. And I'm fine with him. As a comic book character, he's just a naked blue guy with glowy blue hair, kind of made of energy. But as an action figure, it's pretty bland.
Yeah.
There's no painted detail from the neck down. He's just a naked blue guy. No gloves, no boots, no shorts, no nipples, nothing.
It's like they cut Mystique's boobs off, and they're like, "Hey,
yeah," and like
this is the fallen one now, not Mystique. Because I don't know.
And like, if he's a naked guy, like he doesn't have toes. That's weird. Like what? Like,
but
it's true to the comic his appearance. Yeah. That's what he looked like. So I can't really knock them for a bad figure because he's just kind of a bad character design. He's got translucent hair, which is kind of cool. You can shine a light kind of through the hair and kind of glow. But
see, now this is the only thing that bothers me with this figure.
Yeah.
Why do his legs need to spin like that? Like this little ridge in there.
Yeah, he's got a boot cut, like. Because that body, I guarantee you, has been used for,
hands down. But
for a million times. So that boot cut, they usually do give you a seam at the top of somebody's boot.
Yeah. I guess.
Like Terrax has it.
Yeah.
Like, you can swivel his leg there. Whether you need that articulation, debatable. But most people think the more articulation, the better.
But like, yeah, if he is naked, which he does look like he's naked, where are his feet?
He's made of antimatter or something. But like, why would an antimatter naked guy have 10 fingers and toe or 10 fingers but socks on his feet? Like, it's, I don't know, whatever, it's comics.
Yeah.
But so I was pretty pleased with this 2-pack, although way overpriced. I was definitely going to get it this year because Terrax, I think, like, he's an early front runner for me for toy of this year. It's only January, but of all the
no, it's February.
Oh yeah, it's February now. It's February 1st as we film this. And it's Doug's birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, brother Doug.
Happy birthday, Doug. I got him. His present is sitting right here. So, yeah, it's going to be late getting to him. But I got him a Bon Scott, the lead singer of AC/DC, the original singer of AC/DC. It's kind of like a Miko doll.
Okay.
It's like it's got cloth clothing that I guess you can remove if you want a naked Bon Scott in your collection, but when me and Doug were little kids, AC/DC and Iron Maiden were our two favorite bands. I kind of grew out of that because in junior high, that's when Nirvana happened, and I totally switched from rock and roll to like alternative. But Doug stuck with it, and he still like loves AC/DC and everything. So yeah, got him a Bon Scott figure. I'm not spoiling anything because he already knows what I bought him. So, but I'll give it.
This will be put out.
Yeah, this probably won't be posted for a couple of days. So here's a closer look at the Fallen One and Terrax. So now you can see just how big Terrax is compared to regular Marvel Legends. And even for regular Marvel Legends, like the Fallen One is kind of a buff dude. So he's kind of on the larger scale anyway. And Terrax really just kind of towers over him. So this figure here, there's not a whole lot to say. The head sculpt is really all he has going for him. He's got this cool translucent hair that looks like it's got this kind of starry effect. If you shine light through him, it kind of gives a glowiness, which is kind of cool, I guess. But otherwise, yeah, it's just this very blank bluish purple body. There's no wash to bring out any detail. There's nothing sculpted on there. So yeah, pretty plain Jane. But as I said earlier, that's what the figure looks like, or that's what the character looks like in the comic book. So, what are you going to do? Now, Terrax, though, he's really impressive. I love the head sculpt on this guy. A lot of personality. That beard. And I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be his beard, but is this his hair? Or is this just like something he snaps onto his head as some sort of, I don't know, chin protector? I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's a beard, but I don't know for sure. Then this is kind of a softer, separate piece. This kind of harness around here. The belt's a separate piece. He's got the skirt is kind of like soft plastic. It's got some bend to it. Yeah, it's really nice sculpted. You see he's double jointed and everything, but he does have pins. Only a single joint on the elbow, which is kind of interesting. What else to say? I don't know. His axe is really cool. It's a really big axe. And it's got lots of nice sculpted detail. No paint, but it doesn't really need it. It's just a big silver axe. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty great set. It was overpriced. I don't know if I would have this yet. If my wife hadn't bought it for me for my birthday, I might have had to think it over a while longer because this pack with the shipping and everything, it ended up costing her like over $100. I want to say it was in the 120, maybe even up to as much as a 140, which is pretty crazy for these two figures. Because at retail, I would say Terrax might be 50 and Fallen One would be like 40, so $90 set. And when you're getting two figures together, I still think that should justify a discount rather than a premium. It just doesn't really make much sense to me. But anyway, really cool gift. Thank you, Vanessa, for buying this.
All right, I'll talk about one more thing.
Okay.
So, you saw this on Instagram already, but so a while back we were talking about my new X-Men figures because I got Avalanche, Longshot, and Spiral right near the end of the year. And there was a couple other figures in that wave that I decided not to buy, like Multiple Man and Wolverine. But the Dark Phoenix figure was one I intended to buy. Now, I'm not sure. My other 3 pre-orders came in, but Phoenix didn't. And I still haven't got a call because I never canceled the pre-order. So now it's been a whole like month and a half since I got those other figures. So I don't know what the holdup is with Phoenix. But when we talked about her on a previous episode, I told you, I'm glad I'm getting the chance to get that Phoenix because it's a repaint of a figure that was released a couple of years ago, and I regret not buying it because I think I actually prefer the original release. It was a Toys R Us exclusive 2-pack. When it was out, we had a ton of them at our local Toys R Us, and it was marked down to like 60% off. Yeah. But at the time, I just really wasn't buying Marvel Legends, and these figures didn't seem essential to me at the time. But as the years have gone on and I've become a much bigger Marvel Legends collector, I'm like, why didn't I buy that pack when I had the chance? Because now it's gone way up in price. Anyway, I went to one of our local comic shops, the one you go to, Giant Robot Comics. So I went there the other day, and they had the 2-pack, brand new, still sealed in packaging, for $80. Which is way more than what I could have bought it for back in like 2017 or 18 when it was like $30. But still, I was like, okay, well, you know what? A 2-pack now is definitely going to cost $80. Like that Terrax Fallen One pack, it was more than that, I think. So I was like, this is basically what this would cost me if it came out today. If this was a brand new release, I wouldn't even bat an eye. I would have just bought it. So I'm like, I'm not going to hum and haw. And I'm assuming the only reason somebody traded it into them is because the new Phoenix was out.
Yeah.
So I'm sure the demand is going to go down for this set anyway. But for me, I thought it was great because it allowed me to get Phoenix. So even though this is the figure that's coming out again, but the new one has got like really bright red and really bright yellow, where this one's a little bit more like muted, not so loud. This one's got like kind of a translucent haircut where the new one doesn't. Now, I didn't realize at the time, but I have kind of since, the new figure isn't just a repaint. Like they've given her a new pinless joints and stuff. Okay. So for people that really care about that stuff, I could see why they would want to upgrade from this figure to get the new pinless. But I don't care about pins. It doesn't really bother me. It seems like it's part of an action figure aesthetic. So I would prefer this one, so I was glad I got it. It looks great. So in the 2-pack, she also came with this Cyclops. So this is one of the reasons why I didn't buy this set way back when, because I already had a Cyclops in my collection. A totally different costume. I had the Jim Lee one. But I didn't need 2 Cyclopses, so I felt like to pay for this pack, I was wasting money on a secondary Cyclops I didn't need. But again, in the years since, my view has softened. I now have multiple versions of multiple characters. I probably got about 80 Spider-Man. I've got like 6 Wolverines. I could definitely have 2 Cyclopses. And this is Cyclops's, perhaps his most iconic, like most well-known costume. So I got a great new Cyclops figure. Got Phoenix. But even the icing on top of this is if you buy that figure now, the new one, I don't think it has any alternate heads. It's just the one head. This 2-pack, it came with 3 different heads for her. So you've got this one with the flowy hair that's translucent. You've got the same head with non-translucent
Yep.
hair. And then you've got a more calm demeanor one where her hair's resting and she's not like freaking out. Anyway, if you remember, we talked about that Ghost Rider car.
Yep.
So a couple of months ago, Hasbro was trying to do a HasLab, basically a Kickstarter for their Ghost Rider car. And if they had made it, one of the add-ons that we could have got with that Ghost Rider car was a figure of Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, who was an X-Men related character. And anyway, they didn't get enough funding. The Ghost Rider car is not happening. So Madeline Pryor is not happening. Now, I don't know, maybe they'll find a way to release her later. But she is a woman basically in a black bikini. It's very scantily clad that I could see them not wanting to put that out at retail. So maybe they'll find a way to release her at a convention or something. But she might never see the light of day. And I was really disappointed about that. So when I saw this pack, I got these figures, but I also took that extra head and I put it on this Emma Frost body that I had, which I didn't really need because I have a better Emma Frost over there. Anyway, I made my own little custom Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen, and I think it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Now I got 3 figures essentially out of that pack.
So what'd you do with her original head then?
It's just
On
laying
Emma Frost.
It's just laying there beside her.
It's just headless.
Well, the thing is, like, in my mind, my knowledge of the X-Men is from the 80s. So in the 80s, Emma Frost, also known as the White Queen, wore this white corset and a cape, and that's the action figure I would have wanted of Emma Frost. But then they made this Emma Frost figure first, and it was her in her more modern look, where she's not part of the Hellfire Club anymore, so she's got a black outfit, which doesn't really make much sense for the White Queen, but I don't think she goes by the White Queen anymore. Anyway, so I had this figure in my collection, but then they released the Hellfire Club version. Exact same head, except with the white corset that I wanted. So I kind of had 2 Emmas in my collection that I didn't really need. So, yeah, I just took that other head off, threw it in my spare parts bin, but now I can display these 2 figures in my shelf as different characters. Yeah. And Madeline Pryor, if you didn't know, she is a clone of Jean Grey.
Yeah.
So it makes total sense that they would have looked the same. Yeah.
I am a fan of her head sculpt here. She's given off Sarah Kerrigan vibes, which I don't know if you've ever played StarCraft, but she's the Queen of Blades, the Zerg Queen.
Okay.
Yeah, she's kind of got that little look. So, yeah,
cool.
Pretty sweet.
All right,
I
well,
like the Cyclops, though.
So here's a closer look at my X-Men 2-pack, which I have turned into a 3-pack. So this thing was originally released in 2017, and here I am buying it in 2023. Now, actually, since I recorded with Chad the other day, I'm shooting this B-roll stuff a couple of days later. I actually did see the new Phoenix figure in my GameStop, and it does look really nice in those cartoony colors, and I actually considered picking it up. I had it in my hand for a second, but I thought, you know what, maybe later. Maybe if I find it on sale at some point, but I really don't need it right now at full price. So, the Cyclops here, first off, really nice. It's, it's kind of a dated sculpt. I'm sure there's some people that find it a little too lanky, or, it doesn't have the, it has pins and stuff and all the joints, obviously. But as I mentioned before, that doesn't really bother me. And it's a classic costume for Cyclops. I happen to have this one here, which is the Jim Lee Cyclops of the 90s, where this guy is more, 70s, 80s. And I really like this Cyclops. But I don't know. I probably like that one better. And this figure is really nice, but it's got some problems. Like, it's got these little cuffs that are always falling around. They're supposed to be at the top of his boots. So, anyway, it's a cool Cyclops. I'm glad I picked it up. There have been plenty of different Cyclopses over the years. But if I was going to have 2 Cyclopses, these are the 2 looks I would want. Although I am still hoping to maybe get some X-Factor Cyclopses down the road. As for Phoenix, so yeah, she's got the darker colors. She's got the single-jointed arms. She's got the pins in her legs. So I think those are some of the main differences with the new figure. Also, her sash is different with the new figure. This one just kind of like wobbles around, and she's got just this little painted Phoenix logo on there. The newer figure has a sculpted Phoenix logo. This Phoenix also has just these open hands. I think the newer one has some like closed fists as well, which is always a nice option. But yeah, the head sculpt here is beautiful. I love this head sculpt with the flowing hair. And you can see it's got kind of a translucency to it. Sort of like with the Fallen one, you can shine a light through it and it kind of picks that up. Makes her look a little fiery. So that's pretty cool. I like it a lot. And she came with a phoenix as well. So this thing here, it kind of wraps around her arm, but it doesn't really stay in place very well. I find it's really heavy, so it kind of falls upside down and stuff. But it's kind of cool to get this fiery bird, this representation of her phoenix powers. This one is also included with the new phoenix, by the way. And yeah, so then she's got that same head, except this one here is kind of maybe when she's not so possessed by the phoenix power. So this is more her in her Jean Grey mode. You can see the greens of her eyes. The hair is not translucent and fiery. So yeah, it's the same sculpt, but it looks pretty different with the two different paint jobs. So I like them both, but I've opted to go with the Phoenixy one. And then this is the other head that was also supposed to be intended, I guess, for a much more calmed down Jean. Her hair is just kind of sitting flat rather than being windblown. And it's a really nice sculpt too. But yeah, it works great for my Goblin Queen. Now, is this a perfect Goblin Queen? No. But, it's not that far off from what Hasbro was offering. Like, head sculpt aside. I think it's a pretty good stand-in. And where Madeline Pryor is a little nutty, this head might actually work better for her with the flowing hair. But then I didn't want these two figures to look so identical on my shelf. So that's why I've opted to go with this head here. And, I don't know if there's much more to say about this pack. I'm gonna turn this off because we're probably running a little long because I'm gonna splice in some extra bits here. So why don't we wrap this episode up? And if you don't mind, we'll sit and we'll do another little episode afterwards.
Yeah.
So
long.
Yep. So long. We'll see you back with another video.
No, it's so long.
It's so what?
Don't worry about it.
Anyway.
Fail joke.
So long, people. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Thanks for watching. Yeah, right there. Ciao.
See you later.